Hi everyone, welcome to Friday Night Knits. My name is Becky. It is Friday, February the 13th. It was very low-key Friday the 13th around here. I don't live anywhere where there's cool tattoo places to go get Friday the 13th tattoos, and I'm kind of too old for that now, so don't have any Friday the 13th tattoos, so I shouldn't start now. This is my podcast about knitting. Yay. Like I said, my name is Becky. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Becky Rae. That's BECKYRHAE. And I have a Ravelry group, Friday Night Knits podcast, I think is what I call it. And it's pretty small, but it's fun. I have an Ask Me thread. I've got a couple of questions for that later. So let's jump right into things. Last week I said I wasn't going to start anything new until I made some real progress on the socks and shawl that I have going. So I made some real progress. I'm pretty proud of myself. First up, I'm going to show you my R2D2 socks. These are the socks for the Mustache Yarn Sock Wars. So they're in this cool Star Wars bag that I bought a couple years ago. Aussie hair. Bought a couple years ago from Lone Star Arts. I bought it at a little, I think I bought it at the Woolly U, no. Yes, no. As one of the yarn shops in San Antonio when I was there a couple years ago with my husband. While he was doing conference stuff, I was wandering around the streets of San Antonio spending money and getting exercise. So, this is the progress I've made so far. And not too much, but it's the toe is the rounded, seamless rounded toe for toe up. And then I'm doing the vanilla bean slip stitch. And I was going to do it on the blue and in the red stripes, but now I think I'm just going to do it on the blue stripes. And I'm digging it. But I really didn't work on those much because I really wanted to make some progress on my socks for Stephen West. Oh, but let me tell you about that yarn. So I'm using the Mustache yarn, the Perfect Sock, and it's the Droids colorway R2. I didn't get the companion with R2 and C3PO, just R2. And the toes and the heels, maybe the cuffs, are being done with Osterman Royal, which I haven't bothered to look at the label until a couple of days ago. I looked at the label, and that Osterman Royal is 60% merino, 20% nylon, 10% silk, and 10% cashmere. It's kind of nice, and I got it for like pennies because I bought it in the Stuff the Bag Full for $20 at the local yarn shop. So I have several colors of that. And yeah, so that's the Mustache. So let's go on to Stephen socks. Again, it's the Regia Floromania color, which is a 75-25 merino nylon, and then the toes, heels, and cuffs are going to be done with this Tink yarn, which is their plain sock, and it's again a 75-25 merino nylon. But look, guys, I have a heel. I don't just have a heel on one, I have a heel on both of them because I'm doing 2 at a time. And so this, seriously, for as big as this is, look, can't even see me now anymore. Where'd she go? This should count as like 3/4 of a finished object because it's ridiculous. I still have quite a bit to go, and I'm gonna knit the legs up until I run out of yarn. And I'm loving them, and that's the underneath, so there's nothing there. But I am doing a 3x1 rib pattern on it because I don't know exactly how his feet are, and this is to make it fit better. So now that I'm on the leg 3-1 rib all the way around. And I'm pretty stoked. They're flying now. Flying. So, those are my works in progress. Like I said, I'm not going to cast anything on until I'm finished with at least both those pair. And then I'd really like to get the other Hermione sock finished and be sock free on the needles before I cast on more socks, because I want to knit about 1 billion pairs of socks right now. And so that's pretty much all I've got that I've done knitting wise. I still haven't started a Cozy Memories blanket because I'm too busy knitting socks. And, you know, I still haven't decided if I really want to do that, even though I keep signing up for swaps. So, I said it before, I've got an Ask Me Anything thread in my group. So I was looking at it, and my friend Allison, who is Allie Rose on Ravelry, hey Allison, asked who this gentleman is. I don't know if you can see this picture. Let me pull this down. Do you want to know who this picture was in my window? This is my grandpa Homer. And that is who that Homer is named after. So he was the absolute coolest man ever. These were my dad's parents, and man, my dad had the coolest parents ever. They knew each other 21 or 22 days the day they got married. And it's a really funny story. My granny and my grandpa were set up on a blind date. And the first time my granny met him, he showed up for their date about 2 hours early. And she had a friend over that was a boy that was they were kind of each other's fallback dates. If something fell through or if something was going on and neither one of them had a date, they would always go with each other. And just a second, let me get a drink. Just water today because I've had this weird cough, and milk and cough are not good. So no iced coffee today. Anyway, my granny was hanging out with her friend, and I guess he was talking to her. He was over at her house. He was talking. My grandpa showed up for the date, and this guy looked at my granny and said, I don't know who this man is, but you can't handle him. My granny was like, oh, I can handle anybody. No big deal. And she had red hair, so people called her Rusty. But I always knew her as Toot. Granny Toot. Little Miss Tootie was what she was called when she was real little by her brothers. But she had red hair, so people called her Rusty. And this guy looked at her and he said, no, Rusty, I'm serious. I don't think you can handle this guy. She was like, I got it. He left out the back door. She let my grandpa in the front door, or went out, I guess, to the living room to talk to him. And he was irate that there was another boy there. And my granny said that she should have told him goodbye right then and there, but she didn't. And they went out on a date every night after that, and just about. And around 19 or 20 days, seeing each other every night, they went to Carlsbad, New Mexico for a USO dance. And they were in Odessa, Texas, and Carlsbad back then was an overnight trip. It's a day trip now, but back then, with bad roads and slower cars, if you went to Carlsbad, especially for a dance in the evening, you needed to stay at a hotel and drive back the next day. So they went with their friends. My granny's best friend was a woman named Ida Mae. And I can't remember my grandpa's friend's name. I think Slick or something. You know, everybody had such crazy nicknames back then. But they drove to Carlsbad. They went to the USO dance. And then they went to the hotel, and my grandpa had only rented 2 rooms. So my granny said, well, Ida Mae and I are sleeping in this room, and you and Slick can sleep in that room. And my grandpa was like, no, I'm not sleeping in a room with a guy. And she said, okay, you and Ida Mae can sleep in that room, and me and Slick will sleep in this room. And he said, no, my girl is not sleeping in a room with my best guy. So Granny finally gave in and stayed in the same room as my grandpa, but she said that she got under the covers and he got under the covers, so she got on top of the covers. So he got on top of the covers, and she said they did this for a good while, and he finally got so frustrated that he grabbed a pillow and threw it on the floor and laid down on the floor and went to sleep. And then they drove the next morning. They all got up and they drove all the way home, and he didn't speak to her the entire drive. And when he pulled up to her house, he leaned across the car, opened the car door from the inside, and said to her, "I was chasing another skirt when I ran into you." And left. And my granny went inside and she was like, "I'm done with him. Done." And the very next morning, she was getting ready for work when he knocked on the door, and she heard him talking to her mother, and she locked herself in the bathroom. My granny was the only girl out of, I want to say she had 7 or 8 brothers. So she locked herself in the bathroom. My grandpa came in there and he's banging on the bathroom door, and he told her to get dressed. They were going to the JP and getting married. And she got dressed and went to the JP and married him. And he never asked her to marry him. And they were the perfect couple. I loved them. He knew everyone's name. He knew everyone's numbers, phone numbers. He could tell you the license plate on the Jeep he drove during World War II. But he couldn't remember names. Granny knew all the names. He knew all the numbers. And my granny was smart. But that's one of my favorite stories ever. So that's my grandpa Homer, and that's my girl Homer. So that's who's in the window. Kind of long story for that. So there you go, Allison. Another question in that thread was from my friend Sherry. She's Saoirse on Ravelry. She made that dress. I told y'all she's a Blyther. And Sherry wanted to know, what yarn am I madly in love with? And if I found $100 today and could just blow it on yarn, what yarn would I blow it on? My first thought on that was Hedgehog all the way. Hedgehog. I'm so in love with Hedgehog these days. But here lately, I'm really digging a lot of independent dyers. And if I had $100 to blow and knew I could get it, I really think I would go with Woolen Vines, so I could get enough yarn to make a sweater. And it would probably be either Gashly Crumb or Enjoy the Silence on her 2 colorways. And I would have to do I don't think I could do cashmere because it's too hot here for cashmere. So I'd probably do something like just a sock or fingering. But yeah, I think it would be Woolen Vine these days. So if y'all have any questions for me, join the group. Don't join the group. Come hang out. Come say hi. Ask me some questions on the thread so I have things to say in the podcast. Speaking of podcasts, I want to talk about a few podcasts that I've really enjoyed here lately. And it's really kind of funny because the first one is Knitting with Dolls with Julie. And because she's a Blyther as well, I know our paths have crossed in various forums here and there. And it's really funny. I was getting caught up on hers, and I was watching her 5th episode, I think. Yeah. And she talked about a Saoirse dress on Blythe with a little pom-pom, and she talked about having that Woolen Vine yarn, and I was like, Twinkies. But it's a neat podcast, and she's all kind of crafty, and I'm not. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. See, no iced coffee, because that would be bad with Flemmy with milk. Blah. Okay, another podcast. Charlotte Knits. She's from Glasgow. Yes, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Glasgow. Yes, I could listen to her all day. I have always loved the Scottish accent, and she's young and new at knitting, and she's just so cute, and she has me desperately wanting one of the project bags she's making these days with Harris Tweed, which Harris Tweed is very important to Scotland. It's the sheep are bred in Scotland and raised in Scotland, and the wool is created there, and that it's just, you know, it's like having, it's like when you get a tartan or such from Ireland or Scotland, and you know there's history to it. There's history to Harris Tweed, and I love it, and it's such rich colors. And so she's making these project bags, and I'm thinking I might drop a dime on one. I just think it would be a really nice addition, even if I never use it as a project bag, even if it just sits on the shelf and looks pretty. But my thing would be picking out the pattern, because I would have to have some kind of a tartan, because tartan makes me happy. And the last podcast is not a knitting podcast. My friend Amberly, Bingo Buttercup, used to be in our knitting group, but she moved to Dallas, and she is the cutest, quirkiest, most adorable thing ever. And she has these little podcasts that are like, I think one of them is like 6 minutes, so 6 to 12 minutes long, and it's called Once Upon a Thrift, and it's things she finds on the thrift shop, and talks about the crazy little things that she collects, and it's adorable, and I love it. So y'all should check it out. That's Bingo Buttercup, Once Upon a Thrift. I will link all of the podcasts in the show notes on my Ravelry group. So, outside of podcasts, I think I caught almost all of Sue's Knit 24's Periscopes this week. I didn't have to work until late this week, so like late as 10 o'clock in the morning. But so I was able to catch most of them, and she's got that Stitch Revolution thing going, and I am not sold. I have a needle point project that I bought from the local yarn shop years ago, because she swore most of them that hung out there were needle pointers. They weren't knitters. And the owner, Kathy, was like, "Oh, I could find a canvas you would want to do." And I was like, nope, not gonna happen. And she found one because it looks like Tattoo Flash, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I haven't done it in years, and I don't think I could figure out how to do it. But last fall, my friend Azara and I both wanted to do some embroidery, cross-stitch stuff. We want to make a little pillow that says, well, I'll insert a picture because at the end of the podcast, because it's kind of crude, but these are the fields with which, yeah, it's, but I might be persuaded to do that one. But be prepared at the end of the podcast. There may be some language. But that, if I do one, that'll be the one I do. So, let's see. Let's talk about, I only have one goodie to show you, one acquisition, and that is a new project bag. And I just got it in the mail yesterday. I haven't, it could use a touch up with the iron, but I got this ghastly bag. from Debbie Reese. And it's really big. And it's got this got the tab on it, which is the same material as the bottom. And it's the Debbie Reese Designs. The little zipper pull has got a butterfly and it says made with love, which Debbie's just the sweetest. And you open it up and it's got this flower roses on the inside that are just great. And Edward Gorey is just too cool for school. I like a whole lot of these. The lady with the Gilda Radner hair, and this one, she just, doesn't she look thrilled to have that owl on her head with the apple? Love it. And this guy I think is my favorite though, because he seriously looks like my Uncle Eb in his beatnik days. So I got that new project bag, and that's the only goodie that I have, but there's a couple of things coming. So always a couple of things coming, right? I did sign up for a couple of more swaps. Well, I told you about one. I'm doing the mini skein swap with the Grocery Girls. And the girl I got paired up with is in Texas. So, but she's in Houston, which is like a whole nother state. It's 10, 12 hours from me, so. But hey, go Texas. So I got that, and it's I think a 10 skein mini swap. And then also I signed up in Periscope Sisters. They have birthday month swaps, and it's my birthday month, so I went ahead and did that one. And I wasn't going to sign up for it because I really wasn't sure I needed to do a swap so much. But one of the girls said, hey, well, my birthday's on May 26th. And I was like, oh, that's my birthday too. So I signed up, and she's the girl I got partnered with. So it's really exciting to have my partner be a birthday twin. It's also John Wayne's birthday. It's other people's birthday too. I'm trying to think who else famous was. I got to Google it now that I thought about it. So, celebrity, May 26th. I'm so sorry. May 26th. Famous birthdays, May 26th. Oh, Helena Bonham Carter. There's a few before that, but they're not cool enough to be on my list. Lenny Kravitz. Lauryn Hill. Hey. And Stevie Nicks. There are some really musically talented people on my birthday. And I have a Blythe friend, Eddie, that it's his birthday on May 26th too. So, yeah, May 26th. Whoa, go Geminis. And yeah, so I signed up for that one. It should be fun going in birthday shopping for somebody, but it's like birthday shopping for myself, so I think that'll be fun. And then last night, I was cleaning out my email because I never really, I tend to just save a lot of emails, but I was going through cleaning them out. And I got an email from Kickstarter, which I love Kickstarter. I hope y'all do too, because it's just so much fun to back things and get weird random things in the mail. But there was a Kickstarter from Yarnit. Do y'all know about Yarnit? This is a Yarnit. And this is one of my, well, this is my Yarnit. With a cool mustache on it. It's basically a yarn ball with these little rubber pedestals, and that you actually can like store like stitch markers and stuff in the bottom here and then down there. And So you feed your yarn out through there, and there's holes in the top that you can stab your needles through when you're, you know, done knitting for the time and need to store it. Just stab them in there. But they're really cool. I can't remember where I saw one first, but I bought this online not long ago. But they have a Kickstarter now, and I guess maybe they're just small scale and they want to go bigger. And one of the things they had on the Kickstarter was a bigger yarnet called the Big Sully, and it says it's big enough to hold like 2 50-ounce skeins, and it has a little divider caddy thing in there, and so I jumped on it, and I'll link that Kickstarter in the show notes if anybody's interested. Spread the word. It's a good opportunity to get in at the start of something. Usually get things much cheaper, like discounted price, and get all kinds of cool swag. I don't know what all kind of swag. Well, stitch markers and scissors and stuff are going to be in this one, but I just think it's cool. And I've been meaning to buy another couple of yarnets. I just haven't done it yet. So I like to collect yarn containers. I have a couple of vintage plastic yarn containers. I have a really cool lantern moon box, soft material box thing that acts kind of like that. I don't have any yarn bowls yet, but I'm gonna fix that before too long. I think my knitting group's gonna have a day at the local pottery place and make yarn bowls, so that'll be fun. What else do I have to talk about? Well, let's talk about some Blythe stuff. Homer here is wearing a top that I got in my first ever Blythe swap. And I think it actually was a pull-up swap, which is a doll similar to Blythe's. I had one and I hated it and immediately sold it. So here she is. The pattern is called the Blythe Bubble Top, and it used to be on Ravelry, but it's not anymore. And you'll see it snaps in the back. Oh, it's got some serious gap going on. It snaps in the back with just snaps. Cutest, easiest little sweater to make. And like I said, it used to be on Ravelry, but it's not anymore. And but it was a free pattern, and I have it. So if anybody wants it, you can send me a message on Ravelry or Instagram and with your email or something, and I'll get it to you. Or maybe I'll just put it in my group. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But I love this shirt. I have made this top with the plain top and then just any kind of stitch pattern down here. This rib is really nice, but the top was originally written with bobbles, like popcorn stitch kind of thing going on in the bottom, and that's cute. And it was just, it's a really cool, fun top. So that's Homer in the top. And let's see, one of the others I'm going to show you is, this isn't a Blythe doll, but once you're collecting dolls, you're collecting all kinds of dolls. This is Miss Egghead, and she is a ball joint doll. She is a Secret Persons, and I think she's a number 21. I don't know. I don't really care. And she is wearing, this is a ruffle romper for Lottie Yellow or midi Blythes. And anything made for a midi will fit a Secret Person doll. Wow. So it was super little mohair, and it's just a cute little poofy pant romper. with this little ruffle collar. Totally reminds me of something that William Shakespeare would be prancing around at night. So I made this for her. And I call her Egghead because, let me take her wig off. She's got an egghead. But I love her. She's precious. And so yeah, that pattern is called, like I said, Ruffle Romper. And it's by Blythe Princess Designs. And I believe it's a paid for pattern on Ravelry. But it's not very much if it is a paid for pattern. I think the most I've ever paid for a Blythe pattern is like $3. So I think that's pretty much all I've got, except maybe I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm watching outside of podcasts. The husband and I are big Game of Thrones fans, but it took him a while. He used to have his man cave in the back of the house, and I would hang out front of the house in my craft room. And this was, years ago when Game of Thrones started, and I was watching Game of Thrones by myself. And I would watch an episode and I'd go back to his room and tell him, there's this show on HBO that you should be watching. It's amazing. And he never believed me because I was also watching The Walking Dead. And he tried watching The Walking Dead, I think first or second season, and he kind of jumped right in the middle, didn't have any background, and he didn't really like it at first, but he's a Walking Dead fan now too. But I believe it was season 3. I moved back to, I kind of got tired of us being apart. And he and I hang out together all the time. Like, I'm rarely in my craft room. I record in my craft room, but I knit in his room, in his computer room. So, because we hang out. We like to watch movies together. We liked football season. Woo! We like to watch football together. He likes to cheer for the Cowboys. I like to boo the Cowboys. So I moved into his man cave with him during season 3, and I had read part of the books but had no idea about the Red Wedding. And when the Red Wedding happened on Game of Thrones, I was flipping out so much that my husband decided right then and there that he was going to start watching that show. And he started like the very next day, or it might have been that summer because he's a teacher. He gets summers off. He doesn't get them off. He does a lot around the house stuff, but lots of free time. And he binged the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. And when it came to the night that he was going to watch the Red Wedding, he was like, do you want to watch it with me? Because I'd watched a lot of his recap with him, and I was like, no, I'm not prepared. I can't watch it again. So we are loving Game of Thrones. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to throw any spoilers out there because I'm not a spoiler kind of girl. But we were discussing it the other night, and we do believe this is our favorite season so far. And I think it's because like I said, I didn't read the books, but I know they were going by the books ish. Well, they've passed the books now, so they're kind of getting to do whatever they want to do. And I think if we saw a little bit of that last season, and there were things we didn't like, when Sansa and Ramsay's wedding night, that was never written in the book, and George R.R. Martin doesn't like that, and I believe he's released a chapter that kind of says that part didn't happen. So, but we're loving it. We're getting answers, and then we are about to get a whole lot more answers. So if you're a Game of Thrones fan, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on how it's going, what you're thinking. And aside from that, we went and saw Captain America last weekend. And I really was kind of okay with not watching it. As far as superhero movies go, comic book movies, superhero movies, I'm going to see them whenever I can. But my daughter was in town. It was Mother's Day weekend. I really didn't think I could swing it, but we swung it and I went. And it was really good. Best Spider-Man movie ever. That's so mean to say, but seriously, best Spider-Man ever. And Ant-Man is the shit. He's just cool. Sorry. I have language. It's a thing. Like mouth of a sailor. I've done really well for 4 episodes, 3.5. But Ant-Man is just, and I was talking to a friend about it, and he said, well, it's Paul Rudd. How can you, it's Paul Rudd. We love Paul Rudd. And he's right. We love Paul Rudd. So, but yeah, Captain America, Civil War, really good. Iron Man is an idiot, but he's a cool idiot. I mean, Tony Stark's so fun. I'm really super duper duper excited about the X-Men movie because it's my birthday movie this year. That is the one cool thing about having a birthday right around Memorial Day. Cool movies come out on your birthday. So I'm always at the movie my birthday weekend. And this year it's X-Men Apocalypse, and I'm so stoked for this movie. I can't wait to see it. I really like the revamp of X-Men. I've enjoyed every single X-Men movie ever. I know a lot of people don't like a lot of the origin stories, and I get it. But like Wolverine origin movie, so many people hated the Deadpool that was in it, and the thing of it is I wasn't watching it for that. I was watching that movie for Gambit alone, and he was pretty, and that's all that mattered to me. So I loved that show. But I really, really enjoy McElroy as Professor X. Ooh, speaking of McElroy, I saw on Facebook the other day, McElroy and who else is it? Oh, I can't think. But the BBC is going to do a mini-series of A Watership Down. Oh, one of my favorite books and movies ever. And James McElroy is doing one of the voices. And oh, who is the other? Who is the other? I don't think I can look it up fast enough to. But maybe. Let me see. No, never mind. I'll throw it in the show notes or something, maybe, if you'll care about that. So, yeah. So, I think that's about it for tonight's episode. I think I'm up to like 52 subscribers, which blows my mind. I'm so excited. And if you like it, please subscribe. Hit the little thumbs up button. And tell your friends. Don't tell your friends. Come join the group. Let's get some chatter going on over there. And find me on Ravelry and Instagram. Show me some cool stuff to spend that $100 on if I found $100. But I think Bull and Vine wins. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Go grab your needles and pull some yarn. Do loops and other loops and make something and knit and have fun.